Craig, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if there is a technology that exists that would be able to give Pedro Pascal a full beard to be able to play Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four movie. Something out there would stop him from playing a character would be his beard, because there's no way in hell, whether physically or in post-production, that they could give this man a full beard. Never in the world. That's why we don't want Pedro Pascal playing a white guy. He's sorry, folks, for those who are tuning in late or for those playing the home game. We are commenting on comments on the Comic Book Gurus page, Comic Book Gurus on Facebook, about a lot of pale guys not liking Pedro Pascal playing Mr. Fantastic.
And one of the comments was because he can't even grow a beard. If there's two words, folks, spirit gum. It works. You can apply it to the face and
I mean, yeah.
hair grows out.
Or,
And he had a beard in Last of Us, for those of you.
Well, it wasn't full.
Oh, okay.
Ruined the whole performance.
Yeah, that's what threw it off for me.
Yeah. Yeah. However, is Pedro Pascal. That's a hard word to say. That's a hard name to say back to back.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal. However, is he going to figure out how to play Mr. Fantastic? Oh, what's it called? It's called being an actor.
Yeah. And again, he's playing a character that's not real. So I don't know how you can miscast someone who's not a real person. And I posted that, Dan, and HIAC Talk Radio audience. We're talking about my other podcast, Comic Book Gurus, because I posted, I wanted to know what my fans thought of Pedro Pascal, the most popular actor in the world, being cast in a potentially huge franchise in the Marvel Universe. And almost to a man, no one liked it. And I thought, it was just the fans of Comic Book Gurus, or the fans of comic books, their ignorance was just confined to characters that they grew up while reading comic books, being black now, or being like Captain America, or being a woman now like Captain Marvel. They don't like their characters being changed. We grew up reading these characters, and now Captain America is black. Now Captain Marvel's a woman, and I have to deal with that. But I didn't think there would be a problem with Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards, but I wanted to see for myself to be sure. And sure enough, to a man, even some people even writing, quote, "I like everyone in the cast except Pedro." It's like it couldn't have anything to do with him being Chilean or being from Chile.
Yeah, I guarantee you most people just think he's Mexican.
Even though Pedro Pascal is so popular now because of the amount of American men he's played, American white men, I should add.
In abundance.
Yeah. But being Mr. Fantastic, I'm finding out is sacred ground, and that shouldn't be trifled with. I didn't hear anything about Pedro Pascal being miscast when The Last of Us was breaking ratings records for HBO, and probably the most successful adaptation of a video game in the history of cinema. All the video games that have come and gone, that have been tried to be put on the big screen and failed miserably. Doom, Need for Speed, Prince of Persia, don't get me started, Hitman, one after the other, horrible. But they adapted The Last of Us, and it's absolutely enormous. The highest rated original programming that HBO has had in about 12 years, and the ratings were through the roof. I didn't hear one person say anything about Pedro Pascal being miscast for playing a white guy, because Joel in Last of Us, very white. Montana white. There's nothing but white in Montana.
As you were saying that, I was going to say Utah white, but yours is better. Yours is
Yeah.
better.
My dad or Utah white. The only thing black, well, at least in Utah, the one black thing they have in Utah is Karl Malone. But in Montana, I can't name any.
They do
But
that
but again, nothing. I didn't hear anything. But Mr. Fantastic, ooh, that's a
God.
lot.
It's funny. I just had a live response to that very page, that very Facebook post we're talking about. Mr. Chandros Evans said, "I'm surprised white people aren't complaining about Pedro Pascal, Hispanic actor, playing Mr. Fantastic." And I just replied, "Look up,"
Yes.
referring to the comment section.
Yeah.
And he replies, "So you're saying I'm white?"
No.
And I said, "I was referring to the comment section above us."
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. No, you are barking on the wrong tree.
Yeah.
Said it like that on purpose. My other favorite reply on here was somebody with a picture of Matthew Good as Reed. And for those who don't know, he is the actor that played Osmandius in the Watchmen movie,
Yeah.
which I can't hear Osmandius quotes, not in that voice. And that's after blanking. Oh, she'd kill me. Jeremy Irons played him in the show.
Yeah.
Which is
Yes,
fantastic as
awesome.
well. Oh my God. When he gets knocked down at the end because he won't shut the fuck up about saving the world the second time, he just gets clocked with the coffee can. I'm just like, yes. But he's fantastic. But Matthew Good, I could just turn that argument around and go, oh, I don't see him being a good enough actor to play Richard Reed. Or Reed Richards, excuse me. Richard. Yeah. Reed Richards. He can't pull it off. He's so soft spoken. Oh, wait, he's an actor.
Oh yeah. There's that.
He replied. Hold on. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I guess he did look up.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Would you want me to go? What did you want me to say? But they're okay with a guy named Eban.
Yeah. I found out Danny's pronounced Eben.
Okay.
Yeah. He says it's Eben. Eben Baccarat.
Well, to be fair, he is from Massachusetts, though.
Yeah. Great actor.
Why do I know who that is? Who he's married to?
The Bear.
Oh shit. Yes, he is in The Bear. He's married to Eben is married to Yelena Yemchik, who did a bunch of music videos in the late 90s for the Smashing Pumpkins. Like one of my favorite music videos I believe she directed was 33.
Oh, nice.
And she's also from the Ukraine, so I'm sure she's having a great time.
Yeah, in this country
these days. Yeah, she did 33 and 0. I figured it. 0 is also great. It's song. I couldn't think of the word. I do like Joseph Quinn.
Yeah, he was great as Eddie Munson, and
these are fine. I don't like. It's just the cast list.
But fans have been clamoring for a good Fantastic Four movie for many, many years, and the previous three didn't satiate anyone's desire. And because it's a Fantastic Four, it's the first family of Marvel Comics, the first big Marvel Comics hit ever, and it's like the first comic, and it's the only one they haven't done right. And we got every other even though the second-rate heroes in the Marvel universe got great movies, and the Fantastic Four can't even have one. So now it's Fox lost their rights to it. It's finally Marvel. It's going to be part of the MCU, so they've got to get it right. Cast has got to be right, and I've heard this from Rob for as long as I've known him,
which is too long.
Yes, but it's got to be the cast. And my argument has always been it doesn't matter about the cast. It's the writing, it's the direction, it's the type of movie you're going to put on. I always look at my go-to, and I swear to God, we're going to talk about wrestling at some point.
Right after this, yeah.
Batman and Robin. You had an Oscar winner, a future Oscar winner, director in George Clooney.
Yeah.
You had an Oscar-winning director in Joel Schumacher. It was written by Avika Goldsmith, who would win an Oscar for Beautiful Mind. You had all these incredibly talented people, and the movie was a whale size, a mastodon-sized piece of shit. If a blue whale shat out a woolly mammoth and that woolly mammoth took a shit, that's how big a shit Batman and Robin was. But you had all these Oscar winners in it. So none of that matters if the movie isn't good. So I'm not in the Fantastic Four camp.
No, I'm
I've
sorry,
always,
Rob. It's not. It's writing. It's not acting.
yeah, exactly. So I don't care about the cast because
No, the cast
David,
has to have something written for them worth of shit for it to be
yes,
good.
David Diggs from Hamilton and from Snowpiercer was originally thought of as the Thing. Was going to be the Thing. He was in the running. But I wouldn't. And everyone that was yelling about, and so somebody, I put it on the Fantastic Four website, the same question, didn't like Evan's character. He's too skinny to be the Thing. He's not going to stay like that, right? At some point he's going
Do
to
they
be
think that what's his name looks like that? From the original two movies. Why can't I think of his name? The commish.
Michael Chiklis.
Chickless.
Yeah.
Do people think Chickless is orange and clay?
Well, they want the Ben Grimm, the Thing, to be a big guy. Like, if think Alan Richson from Reacher. Like, a lot of people thought that would have been a good Ben Grimm because he was a big guy. I even thought John Cena might have been, because he's a former football player and he's a stocky guy. But and I've been told this by other Fantastic Four purists that Ben Grimm is necessarily isn't stocky, but he's just a tall guy. And I'm just like, again, doesn't matter because he's not going to be Ben Grimm for long. For most of the movie, we hope he's going to be the Thing, and they'll CGI him like they do with Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. So none of this matters. I didn't think it would, but I wanted to see for myself. So I'm glad you're seeing it now, Dan. The anti Pedro Pascal.
I
Version
did
is
not
on.
think we lived in a world where Pedro Pascal couldn't take a film role.
Nope.
The reason they went to Pedro Pascal is because he's Pedro fucking Pascal,
Yeah.
and he's amazing in everything. And I will argue, fantastic, no pun intended, in Wonder Woman 2.
Wonder Woman 2, yes.
I loved him. Granted, in that movie, I loved him in that. I loved that movie, but I'm wrong. So we're not going to talk about that. And I thought I saw you post. I did not get involved because I have not seen it yet. But Madam Web is out tonight.
Yeah, saw it last
and
night.
You said I enjoyed it, but it's not good. But it's not the worst movie ever made. And I was like, has this person ever seen Batman and fucking Robin?
I saw Batman and Robin in the theater, and I wrote in my comment.
So did I.
I wrote in my comment, Dan, that Madam Web is not the worst movie I've ever seen, and you're talking to a guy who saw Showgirls in a theater. Okay, so
yeah,
no.
well, even I couldn't rub one out to that one, and I can rub out to anything.
Doing it right now on the show.
I'm doing it right now on the show. Yeah, I'm just like, and they all look like I expect them to look. When I'm like, yep, no, he's a douche.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he has a beard. Yep. Pedro Pascal. See, I don't get how because I know my brain is wired very badly. I know ADHD, OCD, autism. I'm everything. Not by choice. I don't, go out and trumpet it when I have to. When I'm having a problem, I say it better. If I'm like, I'm not doing it. Hold on. Give me a second. I don't have my filters. My filter has to be forced to be turned on. when I saw Pedro Pascal was cast, I was like, oh great, cool, fantastic actor,
Hmm.
not fantastic Chilean actor. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
Oh, a woman's directing a movie. She's a great director.
Yeah.
Not a great female director. Just a great director.
Yeah.
It's okay, guys. You'll be fine. I just want this movie to be good.
Yeah. I have to remind folk that Fast Times at Ridgemont High was directed by a woman, and no one seems to. Everyone seems to overlook that part. The ultimate teenage fantasy male film is, yeah, Amy Heckerling, folks. Look it up.
Nobody knows who the fuck that is, dude. You like and that's sarcasm. I'm not talking. I'm talking. It's an I'm being ironic
Hmm.
because I'm like, of course, Craig knows that, but like, she's amazing.
Yeah.
And I guarantee most people have seen almost every movie she's directed.
Hmm. Yeah.
Guaranteed. Well, I mean, after Fast Times, when that was her, I want to say that was when she was. Oh, she's great. Yep, give her more jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Or Catherine Bigelow, directed the Her Locker.
see now, my only problem with Catherine Bigelow is just hold your camera still. Don't be Michael Bay, please.
Yeah.
And I loved 0 Dark 30. I think she also
Yeah.
directed.
Hmm.
But all I can see in my head is that one shot of the suicide bomber coming down the dirt road and the camera.
Yeah. Just
And I'm like, hold the fucking camera still.
yeah.
God damn it. She did Johnny Dangerously. I'm going through her filmography.
Yeah.
Johnny Dangerously, fucking awesome.
Hmm.
It's not a good movie. You're wrong. European Vacation.
Yeah.
I'll give you a Look Who's Talking. I'll give it to you. Clueless.
Yeah.
Night at the Roxbury. I'm not a fan. She was a producer. Um, it's like she's got. And she unfortunately also did 3 episodes of the Fast Times television show, but that's not her fault.
Nope.
I mean, kind of, but it's almost as if she had jobs because she proved herself. It's almost as if Pedro Pascal has a job because I almost forgot my final point about that whole thing was I'm really tired of seeing Pedro Pascal. You know, I'm tired of seeing Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
You know, I'm tired of seeing George Clooney.
Yeah.
Why are those bastards always getting jobs in movies over and over and over again? They're not even that good. That's sarcasm.
Yeah.
You know, I'm tired of seeing in movies Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
now you hear how stupid you sound. Do you hear how stupid you sound now? That's how asinine and bass backwards you sound. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I don't
Yeah.
see
And
color. Well,
that's you must be a lot of fun at traffic lights. It must be fun to play Twister with. You don't see color. Yeah, and to piggyback on that, and I swear we're gonna end this watch this transition into wrestling. If you're sick of seeing those people, the same people over and over again, it's because the same people over and over again make big movies that draw big money or on TV that draws big ratings. So more people want to see them because they've already seen so much of them, they want to see more of them. It's not a put down or anything. It's not yeah, I'm all about inclusion and diversity and all that. That's great, but I know Brad Pitt's in the movie. It's going to get a lot of eyes. A lot of people are going to watch it. Same thing with Tom Cruise, regardless of how you feel about them personally, or if you think they can't act, or they think you think they suck. Great, I'm right with you. You could even throw Dwayne Johnson in there. But fact is, when he's in a movie, it's going to be there's going to be a lot of attention, and he's going to be all over your screen because that's who he is. Converse for that is wrestling, primarily in AEW, because in AEW, it doesn't matter if a guy isn't popular or doesn't draw any ratings or the audience doesn't give a shit about him. He'll still be on TV every week, i.e., Danny Garcia, Orange Cassidy, the Best Friends, people that can't draw that you gave them a box of crayons and an endless supply of green paper. They couldn't draw money. If you paid them to draw money. But guys that the fans do want to see, and the fans will definitely take to, like a Mark Briscoe, like a Jay Lethal, or even guys you have in your company that can draw you money. Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs. I look at guys that are in AEW, and it's an unfair comparison, but it's one that's worth making because of where we are. It's like if I look at my favorite teams, or I look at my guys on my squad, could this guy who from the Sixers could play on the Nuggets? They're the best team in the league. Who could? And I did that with the Eagles. Who on the Eagles back when the 49ers were? Who on the Eagles could play for the 49ers? I look at AEW. Who in AEW could wrestle in the WWE and like make a mark? And there's like I can count on one hand. Starks, Hobbs, Takeshita, if he had a manager, a Heyman type, can definitely get over. I know Lethal could. And Mark Briscoe to a lesser extent. Because the guy can work and he can talk and he's got something that fans would gravitate towards. There is no one else in AEW that would even sniff WWE. And that includes, I don't care how popular Daniel Garcia is, and he's not popular as Dance is, or how many wins in a row you give Orange Cassidy. That guy, I'm not going to get, but that's the opposite in wrestling, in AEW at least. In WWE, go ahead.
I was just going to say, don't worry. They hired a boss this week.
Yeah. The problem with WWE is the opposite. They have too many stars, too many people that can draw your ratings. If you just put them, LA Knight's going to be on a house show in the main event. People are going to show up. Yeah. And he's not even you look at your four biggest stars right now, Roman, Cody, Punk, Seth, but yet Orton, Drew McIntyre, like I said, LA Knight, Gunther, guys that are stars, and they're not even in their own main events. They're on TV every week, but those guys are unequivocal stars. AEW has none of that.
I mean, here's your test, AEW. I mean, you, Tony. Mm-hmm. You have Mercedes Moné. So try your best.
They're not, Dan, they're not going. They had Edge. Spoon-fed. You had Mark Briscoe right after the death of his brother. They don't know how to do it.
Trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Do anything. With all the big stars they get there. The one big star, the biggest star they had. Two of the biggest stars they had. One came with the company. One helped open it. You drove him off. Now he's the biggest star in the other company. The other big star wanted to come to you. Came to Chicago. Opening night. Sold the place out. The ratings you got for that show, you still haven't come close to. You drove him out. You didn't even want to do business with him. He said, I can sit down with everybody that I have a problem with. We can hash this out. No, I don't want to do that. I don't feel safe.
We'll never meet with them. Meh.
Yeah. I'll have my lawyers contact you and say, don't contact my client anymore. Peace.
How can you not like the Young Bucks with the current characters they're playing? Because they're cunts.
Exactly.
There, I said it. You wouldn't say that to their faces. Yes, I would. I weigh more than both of them.
There's nothing about the tampon gang that scares anyone. And if they really wanted to do it right, they could have played that evil EVP shit up once, there was problems with one right after the fight with Punk, the initial fight. But they're gonna mess up more. I'm not. You have hope for them.
No, I don't have hope. I want them to prove me wrong.
I love that because Yep, they have Mercedes Monet, and I was really looking forward to seeing her come out to Royal Rumble. But because she didn't, I said, okay, well, she's going to AEW. And at this point, any wrestler going to AEW must go because they know they'll have the freedom they won't have in WWE.
Sure.
Adam
Yeah.
Copeland, Edge was on. I keep wanting to say Regis and Kelly and Mark, but he was on that show. He was promoting Percy Jackson on Disney, which, by the way, AEW did absolutely nothing to promote on their show. You have one of your stars on on the highest rated morning TV show in America, and you don't promote it at all. That's like late 90s WCW shit.
Yeah, that's like Goldberg being in the showing up with Mark McGuire and nobody taking any film of it.
Yeah. Him rubbing the bat on Goldberg and then he hit 70 home runs. Or when they said Goldberg couldn't appear on ER, which was the #1 show on television at the time.
So stupid.
Incredibly stupid. And so many other missteps that they had that they couldn't. So they not only did they not.
Oh, DX is at the door. Don't let him in.
Don't let him in. Yeah. Yeah, let him in. So then they're on your they're on your TV. So you'll get the ratings. But no. So I don't expect them to do anything with Mercedes Monet because they don't even do anything with the talent that they have. They need even even when Edge was on Kelly, they asked him about Percy Jackson, of course, and about his career. He didn't say anything about AEW. Didn't plug an upcoming match. Didn't say I'm good. You can find me Wednesdays, 8:00 on TV. Nothing. So I don't have any hope that they'll do anything with Mercedes Monet.
No.
They for all the Paige, Ruby Riott, Tony Storm is finally getting some type of. But I mean, they're jobbing out Tyra Valkyrie every week. Yeah, and they've already fumbled enough former WWE stars, so I don't see this. But I'd love for you to be proven wrong, Dan. Really would.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Flyers have been proving me wrong all year. I'm happier than a pig in shit.
Good.
Let me fire you up a little more.
Yes.
Sting and Darby Allin are tag team champions. And as the biggest Sting mark in the 5-county area, nobody's out here though. Sting. Why?
So the Young Bucks can stick their noses in and either A, win the tag team championship, so to further cast him as heels by beating Sting in his retirement match, or B, putting themselves in the main event, losing to Sting, and then having Sting retire as one half of the World Tag Team Champions so you can have yet another tournament, and guess who will win that?
The Young Fucks.
Exactly. So, yeah, this is all the Young Fucks inserting themselves. And you could say Sting wanted to work with the Young Bucks. Fine. You could do it any other place. But because they saw the one event they had all year that's already sold out was Sting's retirement match in Greensboro. They announced it months ago. And then the Young Bucks come out of nowhere and say, oh, we'll take it. So we have to have this phantom title switch with Ricky Starks and Big Bill last week in order to make Sting's retirement match a title match. And even the way they set it up, hey, would it be great if we were tag team champions, Sting? Oh, well, let's do it then.
No,
I mean, we
wouldn't.
We don't have any history with Ricky Starks or Big Bill. We don't have any rivalry at all. We've never even wrestled them. So let's make it a tag team championship match. In a tornado match, of course. No disqualification. So he can do all the stupid shit that every AEW match always does. Go out the ring for minutes at a time, go through tables, chairs, fight through the crowd. I swear every match of theirs is the same. But yeah, this is just the Young Bucks inserting themselves. Like I said, it's either one or the other. They're gonna win and ruin Sting's last match so they can get over as huge heels, or they'll lose. The titles will be held up, and they'll have yet another tournament, and the Bucks will come out on top.
And then just to put a cherry on top of the angry Sunday, John Moxley made Dax tap out.
Fuck. And then they leave FTR laying, because that's what you do with the best tag team on earth. The tag team of the year is voted by both PWI and the Wrestling News, but you leave them laying. The Ministry of Darkness or whatever left them laying in their feud, and now Moxley and Claudio do it. And why there's a feud with them? Aren't they two babyface teams?
I don't fucking know anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It makes no, but I don't. It's all
I don't know.
the Young Bucks' hatred of the jealousy and the envy of FTR. Because why are you using FTR like that? If any team should go up against Sting in Greensboro for his last match, why not the guys from Greensboro who grew up as Sting fans? And like I said, with Arn or Tully in their corner, with Flair in Sting's corner, you have a mini Horseman reunion. That's going to draw you some money. I mean, it's already sold out, but a crowd with FTR in Carolina, hell, even the fucking Hardys against Sting and Darby would make more sense. But no, the Young Bucks had to be the Young Bucks.
He picked the Young Bucks. Well, then tell him no.
Yeah.
Again, remember the bosses, because, you know, apparently we're the only ones that know. In name only.
Yeah. And even that match last week with Sting and Darby, when the Young Bucks came out and they bloodied them and everything. You know that Sting's sons are bigger than both Young Bucks?
Yes. Yes, I did.
But nobody came out to help Sting?
Wow. That's kayfabe. Everybody turns on Sting, remember that. And the one guy I want to turn on him because I hate him as an actual person, he won't. I'm not allowed to mention that, though. Abusers are not in wrestling at all.
Yeah. Dan, did you watch the press conference between that featured The Rock and Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns?
Oh, yes, I did.
Seth Rollins.
I wanted to begin this part of it by saying, you got bought hook, line, and sinker, folks. Period. Whether it was fixed in post, air quotes, or not, does not matter. Goes back to a few years ago when Xavier Woods made that comment about having too much to say. Way too fast. And y'all turned on him. Well, it was mostly white folks. Be real. Be real. That was my first ban on Facebook ever.
Wow. Never forget your first.
He needs us. We pay his salary. He's got PhD. He doesn't need you crackers. You're banned. What? Okay. But you got worked. Yeah. And I know you don't like getting worked, but that's the whole point, is to be worked.
Yeah.
I love it personally when something happens that I'm not thinking about or not predicting. Like when Jordan Grace came out at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And I legitimately screamed, "What?" You know,
what?
What? Yeah. Legitimately just screamed, "What?" And just sat there with a smile. Because it was wonderful. And she'll be used again because she's friggin' incredible. We'll talk about TNA in a second. But yeah, they drove The Rock's daughter, and I'm talking about them, the IWC, because I have a life and I don't threaten The Rock's daughter
Mhm.
like you all did and drove her off Twitter because she's The Rock's daughter.
Yeah.
That I can't believe I said the words drove The Rock's daughter off Twitter. I always bring up Kelly Marie Tran
Mhm.
for The Last Jedi. Like
Yeah.
I get, no,
Absolutely.
I don't get that you were that angry at her, and I don't get why you had to threaten her livelihood and her life and her safety 1,000 times so she left social media. I don't understand it, but that was the person connected to the movie. I don't understand it. That doesn't make sense, and you're all knucking futs over it. But Ava wasn't even involved,
Yeah.
and you drove her off of social media and scared this poor woman because you were mad at a TV show.
Yeah.
Uh, t- a TV show. That's what you were mad at. You pieces of goddamn shit. I would wish bad things upon you, but then I'd get banned from all the so yeah. Then who would I yell at? Um, but lo and behold, they took us on a little ride, took us right into that press conference, had an amazing segment, and we're on the road. Cliche the hell out of it. We're on the road to WrestleMania in Philadelphia, 2 nights,
Mhm.
and you couldn't sit there and wait a week for it to flesh out. For Christ's sake, it was 5 more days. I don't get it anymore. I almost texted you guys to say I quit.
Mhm.
I wasn't upset like how dare they do. I mean, I was like, how dare they chase that she didn't do anything, but I was like, you know what? I give up. I don't care. You just can't watch this unfolding. I, Sean Ross Sapp gets a lot of crap from terrible fucking marks on Twitter.
Bars.
Huh?
Bars. Sean Ross Sapp gets a lot of crap. Bars.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Thank you.
Mhm.
I was on such a rant. I was like, fuck you talking about, funny guy. Um, but he's one of the last legit journalists that actually does journalism
Mhm.
that I've ever seen, that I see online anymore. And Kate, I'm forgetting her screen name, but Kate, who also works at Fightful, is amazing. She does commentary for Excite Wrestling, where our friend Foxy wrestles. And to watch him fight with these folks all the time because they're morons
Mhm.
is entertaining, but I don't understand it. And I don't understand why we can't, to connect it to Sean Ross Sapp, who will give you the information. Very matter of factly, it's out there. He was what everybody still thinks Dave is now,
Yeah.
and he's not, which is legit and actually has an ear to people who are giving him the like what's going on.
Right.
And he also had the first interview with Jordan Grace after the Rumble, which
Mhm.
was wonderful. If anybody's out there who wants to see that, great. A nice companion piece to the video TNA put out with WWE footage. I know it's crazy. You get rid of a tyrant and things open. But to watch people, he doesn't give anything away like that.
Mhm.
So it still amazes me in 2024 that I need to know right now what's going on. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's not a. in the grand scheme of things, it ain't that serious. But also in the grand scheme of things, it ain't that serious.
Yeah.
Apply that to both sides. So if we didn't do it that way, we would have had that fantastic 22, damn near half-hour segment that had over 1 million views with it before the next day was over.
Yeah.
You want to talk about ratings?
Yeah.
So it was fantastic.
Mhm.
My only anger towards that whole thing is they really did Bayley over bad.
Yeah.
You had this big moment coming for her that you guys teased the last episode that I was like, they won't do it that soon. Whoops. And they did, and it went off amazingly.
Mm-hmm.
Even I was behind it. I'm like, all right, cool. That was good. Nothing. I don't think she's even on the poster. That's what you're angry about The Rock getting involved in a storyline. I'm angry about an actual company not promoting her. That's the fucking why.
Yeah, not promoting their women's Royal Rumble winner. The men's Royal Rumble winner is getting a lot of press, but the women's Royal Rumble winner,
and deserved,
and
but so is the other
so.
one.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah, and
That's my only takeaway from that.
no, and it's a solid one. It's a clear oversight because it's all about Rhea. Well, this next pay-per-view in Elimination Chamber, which Bayley is, to my knowledge, is not even a part of, but it's all about Rhea and in her home country against Nia, and the winner of the elimination tournament, which my money's on Becky, since they were the only ones that were. She was at the press conference as well, along with Bianca.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But those are the only 3 women that were there at the press conference. But no Bayley, the winner of the women's Rumble, wasn't there.
I did like Rhea going, yeah, boo.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
just get booed. Yeah, boo.
but it's clear that Rhea is the one, obviously the most popular woman in the company, even though she's in a heel group. But she's the money, and Bayley going over in WrestleMania makes the most sense, and I'm sure she will. But still,
I certainly hope so.
yeah, but there's no reason not to, especially with the long-awaited face turn by Bayley that we've been waiting for going on 6 years now. So
yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
To me, it still is just a new thing. I loved her, and I love her. Well, I love Bayley.
Me too. Yeah.
Professionally and nice.
Yeah,
yes, please, thank you. Keep dressing, please, that way. And I'd be okay with either one of them winning, but Bayley's my girl. I want her to win this time. I want her to have a WrestleMania win again,
moment,
especially one it in Philly.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Selfishly,
yeah.
Yeah.
Just wrestling. Even if WrestleMania was in Guam, I want her to win the title of WrestleMania.
Oh, sure, but I'm saying
yeah, having it
bonus. Yeah,
bonus. Yeah, I would like that too. The other big thing that happened that is serious, that we have to take serious, is
do we though?
Well, it's an I don't want to say, I hate to use the word another, but in this case, we have to. And in this case, really, because of the person involved, it's sad and tragic, but depending on who you ask, not all that surprising.
Yeah.
Billy Jack Haynes has been accused, charged with the murder of his wife. She had been held hostage for, I think, 9 hours. police. He held off police. Police were called multiple times to the residence that he still has in Portland, and he's been charged with the murder of his wife. And the internet is filled with Billy Jack is a nut stories. If you just go on YouTube and just
Oh yeah.
everyone from Dutch Mantel to Barry Horowitz has a story about when Billy Jack did something or said something or was um, a nut. And it was mentioned briefly on our favorite radio show, Preston and Steve. But of course, they both said, well, I never heard of him, and he couldn't have been that big because he wasn't in the WWF. And if you were in that camp too, HIAC Talk radio listeners, I can tell you as a historian, Billy Jack Haynes was a big deal. Thanks to the
You texted him and told him, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. I could see the text coming in my head
Yeah.
from you to him. Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was a
What you
big
talking
deal.
about?
And I know by the where we are now, and it's all about branding. If you think wrestling, you think WWE. And even now, I mean, the Kurt Angle story, when Kurt Angle ran into a fan that he thought, oh, I thought you retired, but he had been wrestling in TNA for 5 years.
Yeah.
But because everyone just knows WWE, and they thought, well, if Billy Jack Haynes wasn't in WWE, and he was for a year, then he must not have been that big a deal. He was. Billy Jack Haynes, when he broke in 1983 in Portland under Don Owen, he was the West Coast Hulk Hogan. Hogan had just at the start of Hulkamania and wrestling taking off to be the most popular sport in the world in '84. Just wrestling all over the globe was taking off, and with the advent of cable television. Well, in Portland, Portland wrestling wasn't seen so much on cable TV, not as much as the Superstation was, and championship wrestling for Florida and Georgia and the Mid Atlantic. But the after magazines,
Yeah.
he was the West Coast, like I said, Hulk Hogan. He came to the ring. He dressed as from the popular movie Billy Jack, wore the hat, wore the denim jacket, came into the theme song. Billy Jack Kids was a very popular movie in the 70s. And it was the theme song. It was a top 40 hit. The Ode to Billy Jack. Tom Laughlin played the title role, and still has one of my favorite lines of all time. And I'm going to say it for you now. And Tom Laughlin himself, God rest his soul, said even every day of his life, people came up to him and quoted this line to him. And I'm going to do it for you now. So, Dan, you know what I'm going to do just for the hell of it? I'm going to take this right foot and I'm going to hit you on that side of your face. And you know what else? There's not a damn thing you can do about it. That was from Billy Jack. And so with Billy Jack, the wrestler, massive forearms, like he was the fucking Popeye, and he looked great. Yeah, dark hair, had the beard, manicured, just amazing. So much and attention from the after magazines came from him that Dusty contacted him, bring him down to Florida, and his first publicity shots, just showing off his muscles with two models. One of them was Nancy Benoit, and that was her first role in wrestling, was to be stand alongside Billy Jack. And when Billy Jack got the cover of Pro Wrestling USA, that was the first time me and most of the nation had seen him, because he was wrestling in Florida under Dusty, and Dusty took him to, after he bought the Crockett, he took him and Manny Fernandez and Magnum to Crockett with him, and that caught the eye of Vince. And Vince McMahon put Billy Jack on the cover of the WWF magazine, had him shooting vignettes in 1984, and he never even wrestled there. wound up not coming in at all. And that will be a theme of Billy Jack's career. He would go to world class. Carrie Von Erich was supposed to be in a movie, supposed to be cast in a movie. So they brought Billy Jack Haynes in to take his place to be the muscle babyface. Didn't pass him off as Von Erich, but he was Billy Jack. His father had died, so to honor him, he changed his name to Billy Haynes, which was akin to John Cougar changing his name to John Mellencamp.
Camp.
It didn't fit, and people didn't know who he was. They knew Billy Jack, but they didn't know who the hell Billy Haynes was. So he adopted the Billy Jack Haynes. Still had the hat and everything, but Carrie wound up not getting the movie that he had tried out for. That role went to Dolph Lundgren. So in Rocky IV. So
Thank God.
yeah. So Carrie's back, and then that's when Billy Jack Haynes leaves as well. And that's when he goes to the WWF and reunites with his Florida enemy, Hercules, and they have a feud, culminating in WrestleMania 3. But Billy Jack would go from territory to territory. When something happened that he didn't like or someone he didn't like, he'd leave. Setting the precedence for who he was. Just a guy that could come unhinged very easily. If you look on YouTube, the stories that you hear from Dutch Mantell or Barry Horowitz, somebody wanted to play a rib on Billy Jack when he was in WWF.
Not a great idea.
And that's what they said, no, I don't think you should do it, because one of the things that Billy Jack did talk about when he wrestled about his time in jail, he punched a man and blinded him in one eye, and he went to jail for that. So he always had a temper. Jim Cornette mentioned that he had a limp handshake only because he didn't want to squeeze. Because he didn't want to hurt anyone. So his handshake was very feeble. But the amount of times that he wasn't that he would fly up the handle of something, or he would leave a territory and then go someplace else. You might remember his time in WCW, Dan, as Bad Blood, where he had the mask on and the giant axe, and also took one of the most horrific bumps I've ever seen. He fell out of the ring and landed face first on the concrete. This is back when Bill Watts was in charge, and he took away the pretty blue mats, as he called it, because in WCW we were real men, and we don't, so when people went out and took bumps on the concrete, guess what? They got hurt a lot.
You don't have to read that yet.
But yeah, so Billy Jack was, and when he went back to Portland after all of his wells had dried up, in WCW and the NWA and the WWF, he came back to Portland as a hero, because obviously he made his name there, and Don Owens loved him, and the fans still loved him. But after a match where he beat a heel, he starts yelling at the fans that none of you came to my gym. I opened up a gym right down the street from here, and none of you ingrates came. Don't cheer me. You guys are all full of shit. And this is on not national television, but local Portland TV. He just turns on the fans for not going to his gym. And it was, I believe it's still on YouTube, but if you ever see it, it's the most remarkable thing you've ever seen. He comes back to Portland, and after that he leaves, and he tries to set up another wrestling organization to compete with Don Owens, and that falls flat. But yeah,
nobody came to your wrestling shows either.
Yeah, because they didn't. They said, you turned on me. I said, yeah, because they're saying we're full of shit. But it was one of the most remarkable things I'd ever seen, because I'd heard about it, and I tried to get this back when tape trading was still a thing. I tried to get a copy of it, but it finally showed up on YouTube, and yeah, it was just. But my point to all this long Billy Jack Haynes bio is that the man wasn't altogether there. So
No,
many
one would
not
argue still not.
yeah, but and the thing is when you talk about and there and professional wrestling, folks, Dan, HIAC Talk Radio, is filled with head cases.
What?
Yes, people that aren't
No.
altogether there. And we can go up and down. I'm not going to list them because and some of them are still in professional wrestling. But when we say a guy is a head case, we don't mean, oh, I could see him killing his wife one day. That's never where. And with Billy Jack Haynes, though,
Yeah, maybe.
that's something that wasn't so. I mean, put it in context. Sid was a head case. He'd be the most popular wrestler in the most popular company on earth, but he'd leave to play softball.
He only stabbed a man with the scissors. It's fine.
Yes. And got his ass beat by Mike Graham, who had a squeegee. Yeah, but again, we don't see that as him as someone, oh yeah, I can see him committing murder.
He also got his ass kicked by his left leg.
Yeah. It came up to greet him.
It did. He shoved it up his own ass.
Yeah. Or someone like Bruiser Bedlam, who would ride, in 20-degree weather, in flip flops and no shirt, to Tennessee. Who drive from Canada to Tennessee to wrestle one match and wearing next to nothing. But
Thank you for
again,
that image. I appreciate it.
that's all for you.
Thank
But
you.
Billy Jack Haynes, and if you look at his final shoot interviews, where he had this page boy haircut, like a Beatles haircut, and it was all gray. He was missing his teeth, and he would say the most outrageous things, like Vince McMahon had Chris Benoit killed, and just real, just out there.
Well, I mean, let's not get hasty with the Vince McMahon
Mhm.
thing, okay?
Yeah, but yeah, and again, I'm not encouraging anyone to look at his stuff and say, see how crazy he is, and I'm not trying to reinforce that. I'm just saying,
No, don't do that.
there's plenty of evidence, and the thing is, if he had stayed in one company, I don't know the success that Billy Jack Haynes would have had. I obviously could have made a great living in wrestling because in the 80s, is all you had to be was big. He had it all. He had the look. He had the charisma. He didn't have the promo, but he didn't need it. You can check out he had a 1-hour draw with Ric Flair in the Pacific Northwest under Don Owen right before he got his big break. But Flair had high praise for him because he wrestled a lot like Kerry. It's a shame that they were both so similar, in that they couldn't be depended upon to be straight. But Billy Jack Haynes possibly going to jail for the rest of his life for murder. I can't say he's a what if because, like I said, I don't know how successful he would have been had he stayed in a territory. But when he came to a territory, he was automatically a top guy. So he could have gone the way of a guy going from territory to territory, getting better, and going to main event in the W, like someone like a Paul Orndorff or a Rick Rude that just went from territory to territory, getting better, and to the point where you're a top guy, and then you can go anywhere and still be a top guy. But yeah,
Well, he's going to be top guy on that courtroom.
or maybe a bottom. I think.
Maybe bottom in prison. You never know.
Yeah,
You can't really fight him off anymore.
Yeah. Do you have any Billy Jack Haynes memories, Dan? Or
Not
any?
a goddamn one. Billy Jack Haynes was one of those guys where I've seen, matches of in the past. Goddamn camera. Matches of in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But also always a name I saw in the magazines.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen a match live, and I've never seen him live. Live, real nice. But yeah, hell of a story. I just remember I sent that to you a couple days ago to the group, and I just remember before I sent it, I did like a triple take going, what?
Yeah.
What the? Because in my head, I was like, oh, Billy Jack Haynes died. I know who that was. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, boy.
Mhm.
Oh, this gets worse
Yeah.
and worse as you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Mm,
thanks,
But
Billy Jack.
but yeah, even though he didn't wrestle in the WWF for long, he was a big deal.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
in the territories, and for good reason. His his body period. He came along at the right time. He had the right body at the right time. Like I said, he was a West Coast Hulk Hogan. Um, and because he was so big in Portland, with it no TV exposure or no national cable outlet at all, just word of mouth, reached all the way from Oregon to Florida, and Dusty wanted him. And as soon as Dusty wanted him, that's when Vince wanted him. Again, because he had the body. He looked incredible. But yeah, demons are something, and I don't even know what it is or was.
Oh, God only knows.
Drug, CTE, I don't know, but yeah,
Both column A
both.
and column
Yeah,
B.
news of the day we had to share because that's what we
Yeah.
do here at HIAC Talk Radio. When news breaks, we fix it.
Is that Daily Show?
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the past, do you have anything else about the past?
You mentioned the past,
I
Dan.
mentioned the past. Yeah.
Well, as luck would have it, we've been talking about the past when I mentioned the murder, the alleged murder of Billy Jack Haynes' wife, and we talked about the past of Billy Jack. One of the reasons that we talked about the past of Billy Jack, because that was the only good thing that you could talk about Billy Jack was the past. So we're gonna go back there, back when cable TV could determine a wrestler's path or success, when it was everywhere on every channel, and wrestling was on in all 50 states, selling out arenas just from word of mouth in high school gymnasiums and coliseums and even stadiums. And when there was a death, it made the news, not just locally, but nationally. And here we're going to discuss that in this particular week in professional
Uh-oh.
wrestling. This is a wrestling historian. Um, this week in wrestling is a tough one because it was 40 years ago this week, and it's hard to believe it was 40 years ago. But February 10th, 1984, some will argue, or some can still say, it's a date that changed wrestling forever because, and when I mentioned a what if, when I discussed earlier in the podcast about Billy Jack Haynes, maybe the biggest what if came on February 10th, 1984, when word got out and when the news broke about the death of David Von Erich. Hard to believe it's been 40 years, even with the success of the movie Iron Claw, which I've seen 3 times. David's death still resonates. Um, Still one of the big what ifs in professional wrestling history. How it changed professional wrestling forever. Um, the news was broadcast to me. I found out about it through Vince McMahon because it was talked about, it was mentioned on a WWF television show Saturday afternoon before the matches started. Vince McMahon told a WWF crowd, this is during the beginnings of Hulkamania. Hulk Hogan was our WWF champion, but he mentioned that David Von Erich had passed. And this was mentioned on the AWA, mentioned in Georgia Championship Wrestling, Florida Championship Wrestling, in Tennessee. Every wrestling organization mentioned the death of David Von Erich, even the territories that David never set foot in, because that's how big it was that this young man in his prime was taken from us. Not only wasn't it in he died in Japan. It wasn't even here.
Yeah.
Um, and he hadn't wrestled. He was going to spend a week in Japan and come back to the States. He hadn't wrestled one match yet. And it was worse in World Class, where they taped their matches in advance. So on the same show that that Bill Mercer announced that David Von Erich had died, they showed one of the matches they were having that week would happen to be David Von Erich's last match ever. They get wrestled on February 6th in Fort Worth against Buddy Roberts. So they had the unenviable task of saying that David had died while promoting what they didn't know was David's last match ever.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Jeez.
The testimonials came out. One of the most powerful being a Harley Race, who said that he didn't have any doubt in his mind that David Von Erich would have been an NWA champion. Obviously, the plan was going forward. The Texas Stadium show in May was already booked. That was going to be David's match against Ric Flair. David had already pinned Flair that Christmas, the previous Christmas, December 25th, 1983. He was going to come back for after his week in Japan and have a series of matches with David in January. I'm sorry, late February, setting up the May Texas Stadium clash. Had David lived, would Texas Stadium had 45,000 fans there? Maybe. But because he passed and Kerry would wrestle in honor of David, they would set the then attendance record for the largest crowd to ever witness a professional wrestling match in the United States on May 6th of that year, 1984, 44,311 people, about 45,000 total. But that was the largest crowd ever to see a professional wrestling match, and that was in honor of David Von Erich.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that one.
Yeah, and
we kind of went over that with the Iron Claw stuff.
With Iron Claw.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
It's been it's just hard to believe it's been 40 years, and we don't know how.
It's been 40 years, and most people didn't know about it 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, let me rephrase that. A shocking number of people did not know about it 20 years ago. It's kind of, where have you been?
Had David lived, would he obviously would have been NWA champion? What kind of champion he would have been? Well, we don't know. Would the WWF have expanded into world class had David lived? He'd always had a good relationship with Vince Sr. He'd wrestled in Madison Square Garden.
Would some of the other brothers even contemplated taking their own lives if he was alive?
Yeah.
Like, it changes
so many things.
So many implications of him surviving.
Yeah.
World
Class still would have been viable had David stayed with us. Like you said, Dan, there wouldn't have been so many Von Erichs trying to live up to David had he still been there. Maybe Chris would not have been in wrestling at all. I shouldn't say that. Mike had already started wrestling before David had died. That was one thing the movie overlooked.
Chris wouldn't have had to been forced
Chris
to do
wouldn't have had to done a damn thing if David was still. He definitely wouldn't have been pressed into duty. World Class may still have been viable, and maybe they wouldn't have lost as many people as they did. I can't speak for Gino Hernandez or Chris Adams, because they had demons that go well beyond the curse of the Von Erichs, quote unquote. Yeah. But David staying would have affected not just World Class, would have affected the NWA if they still had been in would they still have stayed in the NWA? And how would that affect the Dusty's booking? Would they have brought the Von Erichs into the Mid-Atlantic, into Georgia, back into Florida when they were heels? How would that have worked? Would World Class have extended their expansion? They were in more syndicated areas than the WWF was. Would they have tried to run matches in New York, in Philadelphia, under the World Class banner?
I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It changes that changes wrestling history in personal and business wise.
Yeah. So that's why I had to include this date in wrestling history, only because it had been 40 years. It's been 40 years. And it's
God,
hard to
we're
believe.
all so old.
Yeah. February 12th, 1985. Poughkeepsie, New York, TV taping. Managing not only Greg Valentine, but making his WWF debut February 12th, 1985, in Poughkeepsie in the TV taping would be Jim Neidhart, and his new manager making his WWF debut. Man, it would also change the course of wrestling in the WWF. But manager Jimmy Hart made his WWF debut February 12th, 1985.
Jimmy Hart almost permeates my wife's and our lives almost daily.
Why is that?
Because when we hear, and you can elaborate on this after I say, because you're going to know exactly where I'm going with this. Whenever we hear a commercial with a knockoff song, Kelly will almost immediately, and it's funny every time because of her timing, will say, well, somebody gave Jimmy Hart a call and changed that song up, didn't they? Because Jimmy Hart, if you don't know, folks, Jimmy Hart was the king of taking a popular song and changing it just enough
Tweak it.
to be A, recognized, and B, used on national television without getting sued for wrestling themes, i.e. Raven had a rewrite of Come As You Are. DDP had a rewrite of Smells Like Teen Spirit. The man was a legitimate musician.
Yeah.
He was in the band called the Gentrys.
He's got a gold record.
He's got a gold record, his own. And he wrote most of the songs in WCW has his name on it. Whether they were good or not is not a discussion. His name was getting money.
Yep.
The man, not even talk about what a manager he was. You know, I mean, he took Hulk Hogan on and off almost up to the very end of his career. Jimmy had his hands in everything, including booking. He tried to open up, oh God, what was it? XWF with Hulk.
With Hulk, yeah.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, that didn't go through. But yeah, dodge a bullet there. But yeah, Jimmy Hart is a goddamn legend. I swear. And it was when they were in town, so I don't know if it was or not, but I swear I made eye contact with Jimmy Hart at a ShopRite in Marlton once.
Wow.
I swear.
Okay, I'm not,
because if it wasn't Jimmy, then some dude in the early 2000s, late 90s in Camden and Burlington County, New Jersey, modeled their entire look
after Jimmy Hart.
Right after Jimmy Hart. Down to the hair, the face, facial hair, glasses. It was goddamn Jimmy Hart. And he was waiting for I'll never forget this because I'm like, I think that's Jimmy. And I look at him and of course he probably sees this dude staring at him because I'm like, is that Jimmy Hart? And then I turn and look away and I turn back around, fucker is gone. And I was sober as a judge that day. Well, I was not old enough to drink, and I didn't drink underage as far as you know. And he was waiting for somebody standing right before the exit with a bag. We made eye contact, and he kind of, as I turned to look away to go, hey, wait a second, I'm gonna be right back. The fucker was out the door, gone.
Damn.
So I'm like, was that Jimmy? Was Jimmy at a random ass shop right in New Jersey? I like to think so. And now him and douchebag McFuck run a restaurant in Florida. So
Of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
hey, it's not his fault,
Nope.
you know.
Yeah. I ran into Teller from Penn and Teller at the Rite Aid in right down the street from here, 19th and Chestnut in Philly.
Yeah, so don't dox yourself.
No. Yeah, and today's his birthday. That's what made me think of that. But
Oh,
I
that's cool.
not only made eye contact, just turn around where we're coming around the aisle, and you almost run into somebody, and I looked up, and it's like, "Are you Teller?" He goes, "Yes," and he walked. I'm like, okay,
Okay, thank you.
it was Teller.
He's from Philadelphia.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so that
tracks.
one
Yeah.
I believe. Me, I'm not sure it was Jimmy, but I swear, well, I am 98.7% sure that was Jimmy goddamn Hart standing there in a shop right in Marlton. I'm just shopping for groceries while I'm in town, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. But yes, if you ever heard a theme song that kind of sounded like that song you liked, it was Jimmy.
It was Jimmy. It was Jimmy.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a master. He is a musical genius. I mean, again, talented, and not even talk about his managing, because he's managed everyone. Worth noting, any heel that came through Memphis for any amount of time, Jimmy Hart managed, starting with Hulk Hogan in '81, but before Ken Patera, Jason Ventura, Rick Rude, King Kong Bundy, Randy Savage,
I
Bobby.
forget he was with Randy at first. Yeah.
Yeah. He managed both Papos, actually. But oh God, Bobby Eaton, Condrey, Coco Ware when he was a heel, when he was good, before he was a clown. Um, the PYTs, so many. Like again, you love him or hate him, but Jim Cornette learned at the feet of Jimmy Hart. And Jimmy Hart is still in my top 5 greatest managers of all time. Not the loud jacket wearing megaphone guy, which was all Vince's idea, by the way. But
Yeah, that was later on, folks.
yeah, that was the cartoon version of Jimmy Hart, where everyone had to be a cartoon. But Jimmy Hart in Memphis, that Jimmy Hart, one of the best talkers of all time, and can get anyone over. No matter who you put him with, he's going to get you over because the guy could talk people into the seats. But he
Well,
made it.
when when you're Vince McMahon and you're shitting on somebody, you got to shit on everyone else too.
Bump. But he
Fuck
made
you, Vince.
yes, fuck you, Vince. He made it,
Sorry,
but Jimmy
guys.
Hart made his WWF managerial debut February 12th, 1985. These next two things that happened tomorrow in history, but because they're so significant, we're going to talk about it now. February 15th, 1986 was the Saturday night's main event taping that took place. Not only was it the Mr. T Bob Orton boxing match, this was the setup to WrestleMania 2, and this was the tag team match. One of them was the Beefcake, Brutus Beefcake and Greg Valentine were the tag team champions, and they were ducking the British Bulldogs. I forget who they wrestled that night, but the important thing, what I remember from that night was that before Jimmy Hart got his hands on the recording, the entrance music of the WWF, before you could get sued for such a thing, on Saturday night's main event, February 15th, 1986, the WWF Tag Team Champions Brutus Beefcake and Greg Valentine came to the ring to the song "We Are the Champions" by Queen. That's what I remember.
Wow.
On this particular night. And that was the night that Hogan wrestled Don Morocco. And Jesse Ventura on commentary when Morocco would do that the heel move, the finger scraping across the back, and Jesse said Morocco trying to rip that suntan off of Hogan. That would in match would end because of interference by King Kong Bundy, who would splash Hogan multiple times in the corner where Hogan
Good.
was stretchered out.
Good.
And that would set up the WrestleMania 2 cage match between Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy. And no, that it was taped that night, February 15th. They get aired 2 weeks later, and I'll have the numbers for you, which are probably in the high 8 or 9s for that. But that was February 15th, 1986. And tomorrow, February 15th, as we're taping this, February 15th, 2004, like I said before, earlier in the historian, it was 40 years ago and something significant happened. 20 years ago, this significant match happened, February 15th, 2004. No Way Out pay-per-view. Brock Lesnar would lose his WWE Heavyweight Championship. There was only one at the time, but he would lose that title to Eddie Guerrero 20 years ago this week.
Yeah. God damn it.
Great night. Amazing crowd, incredible hot crowd. Yeah, and it's so hot that night you forget about the interference of Goldberg in that match because the pop for Eddie winning in front of his family, his mom, in the front row. Absolutely amazing. But 20 years ago this week, Eddie Guerrero with his first and sadly only World Heavyweight Championship. It's still one of the most memorable victories in professional wrestling, and certainly one of my favorite memories. But 20 years ago, Eddie was the king.
He is the king.
He is the king.
In death, still the king. In death, there's very few that are that good.
No. And that good a heel, that good a face, that good a promo, that good a wrestler. Honestly, could do it all. And there's never going to be another like him. And I could see it, you could see it in some folks. You could see it in an Andrade, not in the promo, but I can definitely see it in Dom. That's someone that could transcend the game, who could be a great heel, a great face. He can work his ass off and just looks good doing it.
Everything he did, it was just fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I think the last time we talked 2 weeks ago, we talked about the debut of the Radicals and his debut in the WWF. And man, what a ride he was on. Something I never thought I'd see, having watched Eddie in the ECW arenas and the National Guard armories during his comeback tour, wrestling an unmasked Rey Mysterio and CM Punk in a triple threat match that would win Match of the Year on a couple of publications, and how he lost everything and got it all back, and just absolutely unreal, an unreal story, and unreal athlete, and an incredible nice guy. When the times that I met him, the brief times I met him, just really cordial and friendly.
Oh, he was. Again, I'll say it every time. If you've not watched Eddie Guerrero matches, or if you've never seen Eddie Guerrero matches, do yourself the pleasure.
Yeah.
Please fall down that rabbit hole on YouTube. You will not regret it.
Yeah.
Start at the ECW and work your way around and up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pouring coffee on myself now, Eric. That's one of my favorite promos ever. There's a time right before the LWO. Well, this is why the LWO formed.
Mm-hmm.
The original. Notice I didn't say real like some assholes on Twitter. Original. There's two LWOs. There's that one, and there's one currently running. It's this. It's just as fine.
Yeah.
And some would argue better looking. Thank you. But he comes out randomly one night with his fanny pack on and dragging a suitcase and just work shoots Eric.
Mhm.
And it's just magnificent because every other sentence, Eric,
Yeah.
he would say his word, he would say his name because it stemmed from a real argument backstage.
Yeah.
Eddie's basic argument was, I'm better than this.
Hmm.
I'm better than B card. Boy, wasn't that proven 14 times over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should have happened sooner, but Eric Bischoff knows better.
Yeah. Well, you look at the late WCW, it's like looking at AEW now. Like they had these great stars that you could have gotten something out of, but because of the people that the guy in charge was enamored with, you never got to see. But once they left, Eddie, Mick, Steve Austin, these guys
Imagine that.
these guys become huge stars.
Yeah.
Like in AEW, it had these guys and they left and they become huge stars. But because they're so enamored with getting guys from the other federation, like WCW was, we're getting WWF guys. We're gonna push them because they're the things that people know. Meanwhile, your homegrown talent who could wrestle circles around those guys, who you should be pushing, we're not going to. So they'll leave and they'll become bigger stars than they ever were had they stayed. Same thing with AEW now. Cody is staying with AEW. There's no way he would have been. And you saw how his last match in AEW, he was booed by the fans when he was trying to cut a promo. Now they're hanging on every word that Cody says. They're not even whatting Cody. They what everyone else, but they wouldn't what Cody. Nobody would what Cody. Punk had the same reaction in AEW as he does in WWE because the fans love him. And if they didn't, fine. He can deal with it. The biggest star the AEW's ever had. And they run him off. So I'm looking down the card and I'm looking at guys that are counting the days when their contracts are up. Because I guarantee you when Ricky Starks has an opportunity to leave, he will go to the WWE and he'll be a bigger star than he ever was in AEW. I wish the same for Hobbs. I wish the same for Takeshita. These are guys I can see that they could, like I said at the very beginning, this is called a callback. Those are the guys you see in AEW that can work in WWE. That's it. There's no one else in AEW that can work in WWE. And that's where I leave you. And that, gentlemen and ladies, was the Wrestling Historian.
I was letting you have that. I had no debate. I had nothing to debate on that one. I was letting you have your moment. Dan ranted earlier. He was letting Craig have his moment. And I'm going to go downstairs and go sleep with the dogs. That sounds like an insult. It's not. I'm going to have a good time. Craig, where can people follow you?
They can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, if you so choose, Threads, and also on my Comic Book Gurus Podcast Facebook page. But all of those and all the above, you can find it at Craig Ligons, CraigLiGeons.
Me, Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Hive. I don't have Hives, it's Hive. YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Facebook Gaming, Dan Law, 83. I got nothing else.
Ask for it by name.
Ask for it by name. Ask your doctor if HIAC Talk Radio is healthy enough for you. For Craig Ligons, I am the above average comedian losing his voice. One can only hope. We will see you in 2 weeks. Keep it on the paper.